All right, welcome in everyone to the deep dive. No matter who you are or what you do, money plays a role in your life,
It
right?
really does. I mean, it touches every part of it.
Exactly. So today we're going to dive into, I guess, like the heart of that. Like, what is it about money that makes it so important?
Yeah.
So we went through a lot of really interesting material. We're not going to bore you with the details, but we're going to try to pull out the core of what we think you should know about money.
Absolutely.
And hopefully this will be useful to you.
Yeah, and everybody's relationship with money is really personal,
Right.
right? It depends on how you grew up and your own experiences and your own values.
Yeah.
So what we're going to try to do is kind of extract some key principles and ideas about why money matters,
Mm.
how it relates to happiness,
Mm.
and just at the end of the day, how can we develop a healthier relationship with money?
Yeah. And you know what? If you're thinking about like why even talk about this,
Yeah.
and one of the main things that really stood out to me was just this basic fact that like at its most fundamental level, money is about survival.
Yeah,
Like it's about having the resources to meet your basic needs.
absolutely.
Right. The food you eat, the roof over your head, access to health care, when you need it, even the opportunity to educate yourself. Like those aren't just things that happen.
Yeah.
They require resources.
Right. I mean, at the most basic level, if you don't have money,
Hmm.
you can't get food, you can't get shelter.
Exactly.
And those are the foundations of, feeling secure and stable in life.
Yeah. And that idea of security, that's where I think the real power of money comes in.
Yeah.
Because, when you're not constantly worrying about how to make ends meet, it frees up so much mental space for you. And, one of the sources we looked at put it really bluntly, it sure buys peace of mind.
It does. It does. When you don't have those financial anxieties, it can really make a huge difference in, your mental well-being.
For sure. But that kind of leads to another question, doesn't it?
Yeah.
If money is so crucial for our basic security and our well-being, does it mean that more money equals more happiness?
That's the big question, isn't it? And that's where things get a little more complicated.
Yeah.
Our research showed that while it is true that an increase in income can definitely boost your happiness,
Mm-hmm.
especially if you're, living in poverty or struggling to make ends meet,
Yeah.
it's not like an endless staircase. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
there's a certain point where it kind of levels off.
It's like there's diminishing returns.
Right.
Like,
Exactly.
like, you can keep getting more and more money, but it doesn't necessarily translate to more and more happiness.
Right. And I think we see that in the world all the time.
Right.
You have people with a tremendous amount of wealth who are still unhappy,
Oh, yeah.
and people who have very little that seem genuinely joyful.
And the sources that we were looking at, they kind of highlighted this contrast really, really well. It was like they were making that same exact point. Once you reach a certain level
Yeah.
where your basic needs are met, just accumulating more money doesn't necessarily mean you're going to be happier.
So that begs the question, why is that?
Mm.
I mean, and I think part of it is that once you have that security, then other things become more important, right?
Yeah.
Like the quality of your relationships, having a sense of purpose, your health, both, physical and mental. All these things start to matter more in terms of your overall well-being.
Totally. Have you ever found that in your own life, like there's a situation, no matter how much money was involved, it just couldn't fix the problem?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Many times.
Money isn't the answer to everything.
It's not. And that's where it's funny because I was going through these sources and it really made me start to think about money differently.
Mm-hmm.
Like less as an end goal in itself and more as a tool.
That's a great way to think about it. It's a tool.
It's a tool. And there was this analogy that I kept coming back to where it said money is like a hammer.
Mm-mm.
You can use a hammer to build a house, a beautiful piece of furniture, or you can use it to, destroy things, smash things. The hammer itself isn't good or bad. It's all about how you use it.
It's a means to an end,
That's
right?
exactly.
And I love that analogy. If you're just focused on accumulating wealth just for the sake of having it,
Yeah.
that can feel pretty empty.
Yeah.
But if you think of money as a way to you know, gain freedom.
Mm-hmm.
The freedom to do the work you love, to spend more time with your family, to support causes that you care about.
Yeah.
That's when it becomes really powerful.
And it becomes a tool for you to live the life that you actually want to live.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And it really comes down to shifting your mindset.
Yeah.
You know, instead of just working for money, you start thinking about making money work for you. You become more intentional about your finances, you align them with your values,
Yeah.
and you start using them to achieve your goals.
It's funny though because we've been talking about all the positive sides of money,
Hmm.
but as with any tool, it's important to be aware of the potential downsides.
Right.
In the sources we looked at, they didn't shy away from that. They talked about the dark side of money.
Yeah.
The ways in which the pursuit of wealth can become all-consuming. It
Mhm.
can lead to greed and ethical compromises, and ultimately, it can hurt your relationships with the people you care about.
It absolutely can.
It's like, oh, this really hit home for me. You know those stories you hear about families torn apart by inheritance disputes?
Oh, yeah.
It's just heartbreaking,
It's
right?
classic tale. Yeah.
It's like money, which
Yeah.
in theory, should provide security and comfort for everyone involved. Instead, it becomes this wedge that drives people apart.
And I think it highlights the fact that money doesn't change who you are at your core,
Hmm.
but it can definitely amplify those tendencies.
Yeah.
You know, if you're a generous person, having more money might make you even more generous.
Hmm.
But if you're inclined to be selfish, well, wealth could just make that worse.
It's a
It's a
magnification.
magnifier,
Yeah.
exactly. And so it's not enough to ask yourself, is money important?
Yeah.
A more important question for you is, what kind of relationship do I want with money?
It's about taking a step back
Yeah.
and figuring out what your values are.
Yeah.
So let's talk about that. Like let's say you're listening to this and you're thinking, okay, I want to have a healthy relationship with money. I want to find that balance. What are some practical things that I can do?
Well, I think one of the biggest takeaways from our research is that it's important to earn enough to live comfortably,
Right.
to not be constantly stressed about finances.
Yeah. Makes total sense.
But at the same time, it's also really important to be aware of that trap of just chasing more and more wealth,
Hmm.
especially if it comes at the expense of your health, your relationships, the other important things in life.
You got to find that sweet spot
You do.
where you're secure and your needs are met, but it's not the only thing you're focused on.
Exactly. And another key point is being intentional about how you use the money that you do have.
Yeah. How do you do that?
Well, our sources really emphasize the value of using your money to create meaningful experiences,
Like what? Give me an example.
like traveling,
Okay.
learning new skills, investing in your personal growth,
Yeah.
those kinds of things. Because they tend to provide a much deeper and longer lasting sense of satisfaction than, just buying more stuff.
Oh, absolutely. I completely agree with that.
Yeah, and speaking of satisfaction, the sources also talk about the richness that comes from giving back to others,
Yeah.
contributing to causes you believe in,
Mm.
helping those in need.
That kind of fulfillment just can't be matched by material wealth alone.
It's so interesting to me. We started this whole conversation talking about money, money, money.
Yeah.
But really, when you get down to it, the sources are telling us that it's not the whole story.
It's not.
Right. There are other things that are just as important, if not more so, for a fulfilling life.
Your time, your love, your purpose, these are all essential ingredients.
And it's about valuing all of them.
Exactly.
So, before we wrap up today, let's try to bring it all together.
Okay.
What do we really learn from this deep dive?
Well, I think the main takeaway is that money is definitely important. It's necessary for survival. It can contribute to your happiness, especially when it comes to meeting those basic needs.
Yeah.
But it's not the be all end all. It's really about how you use it. It's a tool that can help you create a richer, more purposeful life,
And it's about finding that healthy balance, that equilibrium.
where money is working for you and not the other way around.
Exactly.
So before we say goodbye, I want to leave you with something to think about,
Okay.
because there's this one idea that we kept bumping into in our research, and it's kind of become a mantra for me.
Oh, I like that. What is it?
Money is a great servant, but a terrible master.
That's powerful.
It's all about remembering who's really in control.
And making conscious choices about your relationship with money.
Absolutely. And with that, thanks for for diving depth with us today.
Thanks for having me.
We'll see you next time.
See ya.